A cleaner's incredible transformation changes everything. Marcus leaned against the polished wood of the conference table, his broom sweeping rhythmically across the floor of an empty boardroom. The bright lights bore down on him, illuminating the meticulously arranged papers and sleek furniture, worlds apart from his modest life at home in a small Ohio town. Each night felt like a predictable cycle, filled with cleaning the remnants of high-stakes financial dealings. Yet tonight, as he glanced over abandoned reports, something stirred inside him. There it was, a glaring financial oversight within an ambitious investment project. The realization hit him like a rush of cold air. The potential consequences were catastrophic. No longer was he merely a janitor, invisible beneath the weight of corporate ambition. His heart raced with understanding. This could change everything. But would anyone listen? The initial thrill of discovery quickly morphed into a storm of doubt. Would his insights be taken seriously, or would he remain just the cleaner? The risk of standing out, of stepping into the realm where knowledge and power collided, terrified him. His family depended on his paycheck, and he could never bear to let them down. The very thought of jeopardizing their stability twisted in his stomach like a vice. Yet, the dream of delivering more than a paycheck clawed at Marcus. Should he pursue this unfamiliar path of finance that beckoned him, or sacrifice everything he held dear for a shadow of a chance? As days turned to weeks, Marcus grappled with exhaustion. He wore his fatigue like a second skin, balancing midnight studies with sweeping floors and the laughter of his children. Every resource at the local library became a lifeline. Books and online courses swallowed whole during fleeting moments of quiet. But with knowledge came a burden. As he immersed himself in the financial world, a piercing dilemma gnawed at him. Who would he become? Would chasing this ambition mean neglecting his family? They were his safety net, yet he feared becoming ensnared in a web of corporate ideals, aloof, distant, and unfamiliar. When he met Mr. Hughes, a spirited, retired investor with a twinkle of enthusiasm in his eye, a spark reignited within Marcus. Their shared late-night discussions poured over possibilities, aspirations, and vulnerabilities. The wisdom emanating from Hughes transformed Marcus's determination into actionable knowledge, but still, shadows lurked. What if he failed? The dream felt more tangible, yet infinitely fragile. How could a janitor ever hope to shift the paradigms of an established investment firm? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The night of his presentation crackled with tension. Dressed in his best but still feeling the ghost of his janitorial uniform clinging to him, Marcus stepped into the boardroom. The sleekness of the environment crushed his spirit slightly. The glaring skepticism in the eyes around him felt intense, almost suffocating. Each question a pointed jab, each whisper held hidden judgments. Yet Marcus felt the fire within him asserting itself. As he began to unveil the unethical practices entwined within the firm, he was no longer simply that janitor. His voice rose, confident yet trembling, every detail unearthing a hidden truth, one that could shake the very foundation of their esteemed operation. Would he break free from their perception? Would he find the respect he craved, or would their disdain swallow his ambition whole? The echoes of their muffled responses fluttered in his ears like the beating of a frantic heart, leaving him teetering on the brink of desperation. Marcus yearned for change, but with it came the fear of losing everything. The moment hung heavy, waiting to unleash its fateful turn. In the aftermath of his presentation, silence enveloped the boardroom like a heavy fog. Marcus stood at the center, a mix of adrenaline and doubt thrumming through his veins. He could feel the cold stares of his colleagues boring into him, judging his every word. His heart raced as he awaited their responses, the stakes higher than they had ever been. The exhilaration of having shared his truths was swiftly countered by the chilling thought, what if he had crossed a line that would cost him everything? Time stretched painfully, each second an eternity. Mr. Hughes had told Marcus to seize the moment, to turn vulnerability into strength. But now, standing in the eye of the storm, he felt paralyzed. A voice rang out, sharp and dissonant, slicing through the thick tension. It was Miss Reynolds, the firm's shrewd lead investor. "You've got some audacity, Marcus, coming in here and suggesting we've made serious missteps. Who do you think you are?" The words felt like daggers, tearing at the confidence he had fought so hard to build. Yet, amidst the attack, a flicker of resolve ignited within him. This was not just about him. It was about integrity and the countless others who might be silenced by the weight of corporate greed. "I am someone who sees the truth," Marcus replied, his voice steadier than he felt. "And I want to help this firm rise above mistakes, not bury them under ambition." Her disdain turned into a curious arch of her brow. "And why should we trust a cleaner?" The question echoed heavily in the room. That title hung around Marcus's neck like an anchor, once a source of shame, but now a badge of honor. It mirrored a grit and tenacity he had honed in the shadows. "Because cleaning is my craft, and I know how to—"
What others might overlook. This isn't just business. It's about ethics, about reclaiming your reputation. Her challenge sparked a more significant debate among other board members, a ripple effect of cautious intrigue and skepticism. For the first time, he saw expressions shift, some strained, others contemplative. But a lingering doubt gnawed at him as he fought against the tide. Could his revelations genuinely lead to reform, or was he merely stirring the pot? Would he emerge as a hero or remain an outsider? Hours passed, filled with measured discussions about potential shifts within the firm. Marcus steered conversations, leaning back on the research and insights he had gathered. As confidence began to seep back into his voice, so did respect from unexpected quarters. He noticed subtle nods of acknowledgement, exchanges of glances that suggested receptiveness. His passion ignited a fire, and it felt exhilarating, albeit terrifying. But self-worth battled exhaustion as fatigue tugged at him fiercely. Did this newfound respect mean that his family would be unsettled by the longer hours? Could he maintain this emerging role without sacrificing the roots that grounded him? He knew he would need to tread carefully. The last question echoed around the room, a clear directive from Mr. Hughes. "Marcus, if you're suggesting these changes, are you prepared to lead the charge?" Silence fell again, heavy with expectation. Every eye and every thought turned toward him. A sudden realization washed over Marcus. It was now or never. His instincts screamed at him to retreat, to protect what he had. Yet the pull of transformation was undeniable. He was standing not just on the brink of a professional opportunity, but at the threshold of redefining who he was. Drawing a deep breath, he met their gazes, the weight of his past blending with the urgency of the present. "Yes," he said, conviction firm. "I'll lead this charge." As the finality of his statement settled in the air, Marcus felt a surge of clarity. This could reshape everything he desired, but it also demanded precision and relentless determination. He had stepped into unknown waters, and while it burned with potential, shadows of doubt lurked as he pondered the depths. What had he just invited upon himself? The road ahead promised formidable challenges, and with each challenge lay the opportunity to elevate beyond mere expectations. Yet the cost of this transformation loomed large, making him question how much he was willing to pay. In that moment, the question was no longer about surviving as a janitor in the boardroom, but whether he was ready to truly thrive. Would the battle have dire consequences, or could it lead him to a destiny he had only dreamt of? Uncertainty hung in the air like a challenge, propelling him toward what awaited. As he stepped back into the corridors of power, he braced himself. Choices would be made that could either solidify his transformation or unravel it entirely. Facing the unknown, a voice within whispered, "This is just the beginning." As the days
turned into weeks, the momentum from Marcus's bold declaration began to manifest in ways he hadn't anticipated. Each morning, he arrived early at the office, the soft glow of sunlight flooding through the high glass walls, igniting a fresh sense of purpose within him. With a determined spirit, he pored over reports, studied market trends, and consulted with the team responsible for financial strategies. His pacing was frenetic, each step a testament to a metamorphosis he was undergoing. His past position as a cleaner, once a source of embarrassment, now served as a constant reminder of his unyielding resolve. It forged a tenacity within him that drove his thirst for change. He was not merely a participant in the firm now, he was a catalyst. But self-doubt lurked in the corners of his mind, asking if he was equipped to lead effectively after years of being overlooked. In the halls, whispers followed him, both admiration and skepticism intertwined. As he interacted with his colleagues, their eyes reflected an amalgamation of hope and doubt. Some were supportive, eager to embrace a new direction, while others valued the status quo, resenting Marcus's sudden ascent. The challenge of unifying the team weighed heavily on him. Would they rally behind his vision or attempt to oust him in a bid to preserve their comfort? Discussion sessions morphed from strategic planning into battlegrounds, with heated debates often echoing his name. The competitive nature of his colleagues hung thick in the air, fueling an undercurrent of tension. One afternoon, in a heated meeting, Mr. Hughes turned to Marcus, his skepticism palpable. "Do you really believe we can restructure our processes, Marcus? You've got the floor. Sell us on it." For a heartbeat, anxious thoughts clashed in his mind. The stakes had never been so monumental, yet something inside him surged forth. He sensed the eyes of the room upon him, a myriad of expressions from disbelief to curious anticipation. We need to stop seeing failures as liabilities. Instead, let's see them as opportunities, places where we can innovate and grow. I've been where many of you haven't been, facing real challenges head-on. I can help us identify our vulnerabilities without the shame of hiding them. The room quieted. Each word was a thread weaving a tapestry of unity. The disbelief began to shred, replaced by mere consideration. But this was only a temporary reprieve. The real battle was how to consolidate that interest into sustainable change. After the meeting, fatigue washed over him like a wave. As he returned to his desk, the exhaustion of constantly placing himself in the line of fire took its toll. He felt the weight of his family's needs tugging at him. Late nights were not just draining his energy, they were robbing him of time spent with loved ones. Could he justify this shift? Was this endeavor truly worth the sacrifices it demanded? Marcus fumbled with his phone, scrolling through missed messages from his wife asking when he would be home to help with the kids. Defiance battled guilt. The thought of letting the firm down felt overwhelming. Yet what of his family? The unease unsettled him. If the firm succeeded but his personal life disintegrated, what victory would that be? As he paced his office, envisioning potential strategies to share with his colleagues, a realization dawned upon him. He needed to strike a balance. Drawing on the principles he had learned as a cleaner could offer insight not just into the company's failings, but also into fostering a cohesive environment where everyone thrived, including himself. Emboldened, he committed to developing a method not only for process improvement, but also for team collaboration rooted in transparency and mutual respect. His focus sharpened. This was not simply about leading a charge, but building a culture of shared victory. The next day, he prepared a proposal for a collaborative workshop aimed at addressing fears, uplifting voices, and creating solutions together. As he presented it, he felt anxious anticipation heavy in the air once more. Would this idea flop, or would it draw them into a new approach? In that moment, Marcus was keenly aware that not everyone would willingly follow him into this transformative journey.
The tension in the room rose, and a sense of urgency enveloped him. The next few weeks would be crucial, not just for the firm, but for his evolution as a leader. As despite his resolve, uncertainty loomed like an uninvited shadow. Would he bridge the divide or fall short at the critical juncture? The question echoed within him like a siren call, stirring a wave of determination. The path to redemption was lined with both promise and peril, and Marcus knew he was on the cusp of a revelation that could alter the course of his career forever. He could feel it. The time had come to face his greatest challenge yet, right at the intersection of ambition and legacy. The morning sun shone brightly through the office windows, a stark contrast to the storm brewing inside Marcus. He had poured everything into his proposal for the collaborative workshop, but self-doubt now seeped into his thoughts like ink in water. Would the team accept his vision, or would they dismiss it as just another scheme from the new leader aiming to shake things up? As he prepared himself for the feedback, his apprehension morphed into a readiness to confront the uncharted waters ahead. He felt the familiar pulse of anxiety, but it was now accompanied by a sense of determination. Gone were the days of keeping his head down. He was ready to charge forward and face his colleagues head-on. He envisioned them, each with their own burdens and strengths. Why couldn't they rely on one another to overcome their blind spots? At the workshop, he opened with candor, sharing personal stories from his time as a cleaner. He spoke of the unglamorous struggles that had shaped him and how those experiences had taught him the invaluable lesson of teamwork. When we cleaned offices together, every person had a vital role. We weren't just making a space clean, we were creating an environment that allowed others to thrive. This is the culture I envision for us, he said, his voice steady as he glanced around the room, searching their faces for signs of connection. The response was mixed. Some colleagues nodded, visibly moved by his sincerity, while others crossed their arms defensively, still clinging to their well-worn routines. Mr. Hughes, who had been a vocal opponent, was quiet, but his narrowed eyes betrayed a swirling skepticism. Marcus, do you really think that sharing emotional anecdotes will change how we function as a firm? Hughes finally interjected. You think pouring out personal experiences is a substitute for strategy? We're not a support group. The words hit harder than Marcus anticipated. A momentary wave of embarrassment washed over him, but he quickly steadied himself. It's not just about strategy. Strategy requires trust and collaboration, and without those, we're just soldiers executing orders. I'm asking, can we open the floor to discussion? Can we transform our failures into learning points rather than obstacles? As the room buzzed, he could sense the tension beginning to shift. Some were whispering to each other, while others contemplated. The threads of connection he had attempted to weave were sometimes just frayed strings, but there was potential for them to be mended into something durable. He seized this moment, urging them to share their concerns, to show vulnerability. I won't be your leader if you don't trust me, he pressed. You have years of experience and insights that deserve to be heard. How can we combine our strengths? I believe every one of you has something to teach me. The discussions grew more animated, and as each colleague voiced their fears and visions, a dynamic took shape. Frustrations transformed into shared problems, navigating their complicated feelings about change. Slowly, connections started to form. A fragile web, but a web nonetheless. Marcus felt a rush of adrenaline, knowing that vulnerability was a double-edged sword. Would they take the risk of being open, or would they retreat into the safety of skepticism? The success of their nascent collaboration teetered on the edge of revelation. As the day drew to a close, Marcus left the workshop feeling a mix of elation and exhaustion. This was just the beginning, and while a spark had ignited, he had no illusion that the path ahead would be gentle. New ideas had surfaced, but so had fierce opposition from those reluctant to relinquish control over their domains. He returned home, the weight of the day still fresh on his shoulders. His wife glanced at him, concern etched on her face. If he could only articulate the emotional roller coaster to her, validate his efforts, but also acknowledge the inevitable setbacks. As he prepared for bed, Marcus could feel it coiling within him, the knowledge that what started as a workshop was evolving into something larger than himself. He now had the faintest inkling of the leader he could become, but he needed to keep his wits about him. Tomorrow, he would face the aftermath of the workshop, the skepticism of dissenters, and the enthusiasm of supporters. The emerging alliances felt fragile yet promising, teetering perilously on the brink of real transformation. Would those alliances hold, or would the old guard push back with a force he couldn't anticipate? The shadows of doubt returned, reminding him that vulnerability invited risk. The stakes were rising, and Marcus understood that this was just the beginning of his greatest test yet. He lay awake, thoughts racing as he understood one undeniable truth. The path to true leadership demanded more than just vision. It required courage, resilience, and the strength to engage in the most uncomfortable conversations. With those thoughts swirling, he realized that he was now on a collision course with his own inadequacies, teetering on the precipice of either falling into fear or soaring into newfound strength. As he finally closed his eyes, the question echoed louder than ever. Could he sustain this change, or would he crash under the weight of expectations? The answer awaited him with the dawn. The morning arrived with an unforgiving brightness, yet Marcus felt a heaviness in his chest that obscured even the sun's warmth. He lay in bed, the thoughts of yesterday's workshop still percolating in his mind. How had he not anticipated the resistance? Could Hughes's skepticism reshape the narrative before it even had a chance to unfold? He cast the doubts aside as he rolled out of bed, determined to confront whatever came his way. Arriving at the office, the atmosphere buzzed with an undercurrent of gossip. Some employees were exchanging whispers, casting sidelong glances at Marcus as he walked past. It stung, an invisible weight bearing down on him as he made his way to his desk. After a few moments of huddled discussions, Angela, one of the more supportive team members, approached him. Her eyes shone with a mix of concern and resolve. "Hey, I thought you were great yesterday," she began, hesitating as if weighing her words. "But I overheard some people talking. They're not happy with how you opened up." "What do you mean?" he asked, an edge of frustration creeping into his voice. "Letting people share their concerns and vulnerabilities? Some think it's not how we should be running things," she clarified. Marcus felt an ache in his stomach. Why was it so hard for some to view emotion as a pathway to connection? "I needed them to trust me, Angela. I believed it would build something genuine." She nodded, but her brows furrowed. "Well, just be careful. Not everyone appreciates that approach." The truth of her words resonated. He understood he had to become the catalyst for change, yet his methods could either propel him forward or tear him down. Bracing himself, he decided to invite Hughes for a private conversation, a leap that tested his resolve. The afternoon sunlight streamed through the conference room glass as Marcus sat waiting, legs jittering with anticipation. When Hughes entered, his presence radiated an air of authority that made Marcus instinctively sit up straighter. "Marcus," Hughes said, folding his arms, "what do you want to talk about?" The straightforwardness surprised Marcus, galvanizing his courage. "I want to understand your perspective. I know my approach was unconventional, but I believe it's essential." Hughes seemed taken aback, but recovered quickly. "You think opening up is a solution? We're in a competitive business. I deal in hard facts. Emotional sharing is for therapy, not profit margins." Marcus clenched his fists beneath the table, willing himself to remain calm. But developing a culture of trust is a different kind of strategy. Emotional engagement fosters loyalty and innovation. He paused, letting his words settle in the room. "Don't you see the value in that?" Hughes narrowed his eyes, skepticism etched into his face. "Values don't pay the bills, Marcus. You'll need to show results if you want my support." As Marcus faced the starkness of Hughes' accusation, he felt a flicker of how far he had come. He was no longer the nervous newcomer bowing to industry giants. He was committed to transformation, both theirs and his own. "What if I prove it to you? Give me some time. Allow me to build a team where we can actually test these ideas. If it fails, I'll step back." The challenge hung in the air, charged with unspoken agreements and potential explosions. Hughes regarded him for what felt like an eternity, and Marcus held his breath, feeling the enormity of this moment. Finally, Hughes exhaled sharply. "Fine, but my patience is limited." He turned to leave, pausing at the door to look back. Just don't mistake sympathy for strength. The door clicked shut behind Hughes, and Marcus felt a rush of exhilaration mixed with dread. He had sparked the confrontation, and while it hadn't gone according to his ideal script, it was undeniably a step forward. He realized he was navigating deeper waters than he had anticipated, braving not just doubts, but challenges that would come from allies and adversaries alike. Yet, as he sat alone in the conference room, he understood something crucial. He was already learning to balance his emotional insights with the hard-nosed realities of leadership. But would it be enough? As he considered what steps to take next, the realization dawned. The stakes were higher than the workshop, or even Hughes' acceptance. It was about claiming his identity as a leader shaped by unique experiences and perspectives. The question now loomed larger than ever. Would he be able to convince his team to embrace this evolution, or would they fall back into the shadows of tradition? Marcus, ignited by a newfound clarity, resolved to tackle this challenge head-on. Yet unease swirled in his gut, whispering doubts from the man he once was. His journey was only beginning, and the obstacles ahead could redefine everything he believed about leadership. As he stepped out of the conference room and faced the bustling office, a new thought seized his mind. Could he harness the power of his past to inspire others, or would it become an anchor dragging him back? The answer lay just out of reach, hidden beneath the surface of his ambitions. The next day dawned brighter, yet Marcus felt an urgency coursing through him. He had a plan. No, a mission to demonstrate that feeling, connection, and vulnerability could be valuable assets in the competitive landscape of their industry. Clutching a notebook filled with ideas, he arrived at the office knowing he would need to provoke a new narrative among his colleagues. As he settled at his desk, Marcus called for a team meeting, his voice steady as he addressed the group. The buzz in the office died down as heads turned toward him, curiosity etched on their faces. "I've heard some concerns," he began, choosing his words carefully, "and I want to build on what we started in yesterday's workshop. I believe we can redefine our approach and enhance our productivity." Ryan, a skeptical but respected member of the team, challenged him almost immediately. "How are we supposed to focus on teamwork if all we're doing is sitting around sharing our feelings? Results matter here, not therapy sessions." Marcus felt heat rise within him, but he realized this confrontation was necessary. "I understand your perspective, Ryan, but what if those same feelings create a deeper commitment to our collective success? It's about fostering a culture where everyone feels seen, valued, and yes, emotionally connected to our goals." A murmur rippled through the room, and he sensed skepticism and intrigue merging among his coworkers. He pressed on. "I'm proposing an experiment. Let's dedicate time each week for team discussions, real discussions. We can tackle issues, share ideas, and find ways to support each other personally and professionally." As he spoke, he could see the mixed reactions, the doubtful, the intrigued, and a few who genuinely seemed hungry for change. He was striking a chord, but doubt still lingered like an unwelcome guest. Would they really buy into this? After the meeting, Angela approached him again, her expression resolute. "Marcus, I see what you're trying to do, but you need to consider how this might be received. Not everyone is on board, and Hughes is watching." "Then I need to show results quickly," Marcus replied, the determination in his voice layered with apprehension. "We can start small, run a few tests, invite feedback, and refine our approach based on real outcomes. Just be cautious, Angela warned. Not everyone will welcome this shift, especially if it feels forced. That evening, Marcus sat alone in his apartment, pondering Angela's words. Doubt reared its head again. Would he even be able to convince them? The challenge felt monumental, but as he reached for the notebook filled with his plans, he felt a flicker of rebellious energy. The past failures had imbued him with insights he could draw on now. The next idea took form in his mind like a well-lit bulb flickering to life. He needed to create a space where the team could experience this emotional connection firsthand, not just talk about it. Could he set up a series of informal gatherings where stakes were low, the setting relaxed, and expectations shifted from productivity to open communication? It would be risky, teetering on the line between success and ridicule. As he plotted the finer details, an unexpected flash of realization struck him harder than before. He was letting fear dictate some of his choices. Hughes's skepticism, the chatter in the office, Ryan's challenge, they were all towering shadows over his pursuit of authentic leadership. What if he reframed that fear into determination, transforming it into the fuel for his endeavor? That night, invigorated by his plan, he sent out an invitation to the team for a talk and transition session next week, a casual gathering where everyone was welcome to engage freely. As he pressed send, excitement mixed with anxiety in the pit of his stomach. In the dawn of this new venture, he felt he was navigating unsteady waters, keenly aware that each decision bore weight. He was veering into uncharted territory, positioning himself as a leader willing to forsake traditional paths for something that felt more intertwined with his true self. But the wild uncertainty echoed in his mind. Would this wounded group resonate with his vision, or would they dismiss his intentions as naive? The words hung heavily in the air. The true test loomed ahead, promising the potential for great transformation or the sharp sting of rejection. Would his willingness to reveal his vulnerabilities lead to an empowering connection, or could it threaten everything he had fought to build? With the talk and transition session looming ahead on the horizon, Marcus understood he was now on the brink of an evolution he never anticipated. The day of the talk and transition session arrived with an undercurrent of tension that Marcus couldn't shake off. As he dressed, he replayed the invitation in his mind. The enthusiasm he had felt in drafting it overshadowed by a dreadful sense of vulnerability he was about to expose to his team. Standing in front of the mirror, he adjusted the collar of his shirt, trying to muster a semblance of confidence. Walking into the office, he wanted to feel composed, but his heart raced. The conference room, usually a sterile environment for meetings, took on an aura of intimacy with the chairs arranged in a casual circle and snacks laid out as an inviting gesture. It was a small concession, but one that felt monumental in its intent to bridge the emotional gap among them. As the clock ticked closer to the start time, he was struck by the thoughts swirling in his mind. Had he aimed too high? Were his intentions clear enough? He was grappling with fear, but resisted allowing it to take root. He had accepted that this was a moment of professional jeopardy. The possibility of exposure to scorn was tangible, yet it was also a potential turning point for his leadership. When everyone began to trickle in, he greeted each team member with an earnest smile, trying to ignite a spark of warmth in the air. He noticed Ryan entering last, his face a mask of skepticism. The familiar flicker of doubt flared inside Marcus, but he dismissed it, reminding himself of his purpose. As they settled into their circle, Marcus took a deep breath, anchoring himself in the intention behind this experiment. "Thank you all for coming. I know we've connected over work, but today I wanted us to explore that connection in a deeper sense." He visualized what he was trying to convey, not just talk, but real exchanges that could lay the groundwork for trust. He prompted the session gently, inviting everyone to share their ideas about their experiences within the workplace. As he spoke, he encouraged vulnerability. Although unsure, the atmosphere gradually shifted, softening barriers among them. Colleagues who once glided through the motions began to breathe life into their stories, their frustrations, their hopes, their aspirations. The session, once rigid and businesslike, transformed into an authentic dialogue. Yet, even amid moments of connection, Marcus felt the weight of negativity tugging at the edges of his resolve. Ryan's silence loomed. Each time Marcus encouraged the group to share more, he sensed Ryan's judgment without needing confirmation. It gnawed at him, testing his belief in the process. He took a moment to collect himself, realizing he needed to confront that uncertainty head-on. I know change isn't easy. I'm asking all of you to step out of your comfort zones, trust me, and trust each other. I'm here too, willing to embrace this vulnerability alongside you. In this moment, he understood something profound. Showing his own uncertainties was just as important as encouraging others to do the same. As a few team members began to share their unease about their workload, Marcus took a risk, revealing a misstep from his past, a decision that had profoundly impacted his career trajectory. The collective silence was enough to reveal how deeply the story resonated. The room became charged with a palpable energy. They were not just coworkers, they were people navigating their battles together. But just as the camaraderie began to grow, Ryan broke the moment. "This is all nice, Marcus, but we're not here to bare our souls. We need strategies and results, not a group therapy session." He challenged, the skepticism flooding back. Marcus's heart raced. This was it, the defining moment. He could retreat, gravitate towards self-doubt, or step firmly into his newfound philosophy. A challenge met with vulnerability demanded a bold response. I can't promise immediate results if we don't first build a foundation rooted in trust. The journey toward excellence begins by connecting and understanding each other. As the murmurs in the room surged, he understood the risk he was taking in asserting his beliefs. He had stepped into the knife's edge of leadership, where the intersection of authentic expression merged with professional expectation. With the session winding down, he felt both exhilarated and exhausted. The outcomes were still uncertain. Had he truly moved the needle, or merely opened the door for more criticism? Only time would tell. But as he drove home with the weight of the day on his shoulders, a renewed determination surged within him. As he neared his apartment, his phone buzzed with a notification. It was Angela, asking for a status update on the session. Suddenly, a fresh wave of anxiety washed over him. Hughes was always watching. Would he respond with understanding? Or would he seal the fissures Marcus had bravely tried to mend? The answer loomed just beyond the horizon, promising to reshape the trajectory of his journey entirely. Marcus plopped down on the couch, the day's tension still coursing through him like a restless current. He could feel the prickle of his phone buzzing on the coffee table, but for a moment he let it sit in silence. The session had flickered between revelation and resistance. The questions lingered. Did he leave his team with tools for growth, or had he merely invited scrutiny? As the weight of his thoughts pressed down, he reached for his phone, flipping it over to find Angela's message glowing insistently. With a breath, he typed out a reply. The session went deep, but there's much to unpack. I'll keep you posted. It felt lackluster, yet it was all he had. He permitted himself a moment to retreat into his thoughts, analyzing his reactions from earlier. Ryan's derisive interruption hadn't just humbled him. It was a rude awakening to the raw underbelly of his leadership. He had to ponder whether his approach had altered perceptions or merely laid a trap for judgment. Could he navigate this treacherous landscape without losing himself or his vision? In the following days, that session weighed heavily on him. Moments of pause turned into hours of reflection, and he increasingly found himself dissecting the nuances of Ryan's skepticism. Was it mere professional cynicism, or did it stem from something deeper within the culture of their workplace? He realized that the talk alone wouldn't suffice. Implementing culture change required strategy, an intricate dance between vision and execution. He began brainstorming methods that would provide concrete results while still cultivating the softness he hoped to nourish in his team. At work, Marcus dove into his projects with an intensity that surprised him. He initiated follow-up meetings with the team to solidify some of the ideas generated during the talk and transition session. Between spreadsheets and deadlines, he announced a new initiative called Project Empower, focusing on tackling workloads collaboratively, with an emphasis on feedback loops where everyone could openly express needs and expectations. He hoped this would inspire trust and responsibility among his team. Yet, despite his best intentions, a shadow seemed to grow over him.
These efforts. Ryan's unrelenting critique found its way into discussions, his well-placed jabs often eroding the thin layer of trust the team had begun to forge. Each day, Ryan appeared more emboldened, as if Marcus's display of vulnerability had given him room to challenge the ramifications of it. Marcus soon found himself confronting Ryan directly. "I know you think this is just fluff, but I believe we're building a foundation that can support our performance in the long run," he challenged. "Why not focus on how to reshape that performance together rather than tearing it down?" He felt a knot of anxiety coiling in his stomach as he delivered those words, the confrontation brave, necessary, yet unsettling. The intensity of their exchange reverberated through the office. It opened a space for others to join in, their engagement a fresh wave of voices offering insights and opinions, further pulling the meetings into a realm where improvement and connection walked hand in hand. Yet, as discussions flowed, Marcus could still sense Ryan simmering with discontent. With the pressure building, Marcus pondered a different tactic, one that could possibly undercut Ryan's antagonism. What if he invited Ryan to play a key role in Project Empower? Could this decision transform the dynamics between them? As doubt flickered in his mind, Marcus realized he stood at a pivotal juncture. Embracing the challenge of incorporating Ryan could either forge a new alliance or set the stage for disaster. He needed to decide fast. He took a breath, heart racing with the gravity of this decision. Would he risk his authenticity by extending an olive branch to a naysayer, or would that act shatter everything he hoped to achieve? In that moment, it was clear. The leap of faith might redefine not just his leadership, but the very fabric of his team. That evening, he penned a personal note to Ryan, the challenge hanging in the air, waiting to be acknowledged. The next morning awaits, charged with the potential to reconcile the past or deepen the divide. What path would he take? Marcus awoke early the next day, anxiety almost palpable in the air around him. He had spent the night turning over his decision like a stone in his pocket, weighing the potential consequences. The note he had crafted still lingered in his mind, a thin piece of paper that held the weight of both opportunity and risk. He dressed deliberately, knowing that today's conversations could shift the trajectory of his leadership. At the office, the atmosphere buzzed with an undercurrent of uncertainty. Colleagues exchanged glances, some unsure of how to proceed after the previous week's bold confrontation. As he entered the conference room, Marcus sensed the palpable tension rising among his teammates. It was a double-edged sword, excitement for the new initiative, but uncertainty about how it might unfold. Before starting, he took a moment to scan the faces around the table. Angela, with her supportive smile, encouraged him silently. Others looked skeptical, their attention darting to Ryan. He steadied himself, the breath before the plunge. "Thank you, everyone, for gathering this morning," Marcus began, his voice resonating with a calmness he didn't entirely feel. "I want to expand on Project Empower and the role that each of you can play in shaping it." He noticed that Ryan's brow furrowed, a telltale sign that the proverbial gauntlet had been thrown. "I've invited Ryan to take part on this project," Marcus continued, directing a determined gaze at Ryan, willing him to participate, to engage rather than critique. "I believe his experience can guide us in overcoming the barriers of trust and communication. Together, we can build a framework that benefits all of us." Silence enveloped the room, a moment suspended between anticipation and disbelief. Then Ryan spoke, his voice dripping with skepticism, yet unable to mask the curiosity that sparked within him. "Isn't that just a stretch to include me? Or do you really think I have something to add?" The challenge hung in the air like the smell of storm clouds. Marcus chose to lean into the discomfort rather than recoil. It's not about inclusion for the sake of inclusion, but about forging a resilient path together. Your insights are valuable, Ryan, whether you see them that way or not. Another pause, pregnant with the potential for rupture or resolution. Colleagues leaned in, eyes shifting between the two men. Ryan's expression morphed into contemplation, and Marcus held his breath, waiting for the shift. "Fine," Ryan mused after a beat, the edge of his skepticism still evident, but no longer as sharp. "Let's see if this really works." With that simple acceptance, Marcus felt a wave of relief wash over him, but it mingled with the realization that the road ahead would not be easy. As discussions commenced, he saw a shift. More colleagues chimed in, their voices layered with cautious optimism. They dissected tasks, shared personal barriers, and started to explore what empowerment could mean for their working lives. Yet amid this blossoming connection, Marcus couldn't shake the lurking sense of opportunism from Ryan. Marcus pressed forward, but quietly noted the following exchange that revealed a shade of resistance. "We can't just spiral into feel-good conversations," Ryan interjected. "We need to keep our eyes on deadlines and deliverables. It's a business, not a therapy session." The dichotomy, the necessity of results against the burgeoning need for interpersonal trust, started to collide within Marcus. He realized he needed to strike a balance, and it would require more than just a commitment to the project. It required a commitment to understanding each person on his team, especially Ryan. "Great point, Ryan," he acknowledged, consciously shifting the room's focus. "This initiative isn't about discarding the need for productivity, it's about empowering us to achieve it more collaboratively." As the meeting progressed and Marcus laid out the framework for his vision, a new resolve solidified within him. He recognized that navigating this complex relationship with Ryan would require strategic foresight and emotional intelligence, testing the very core of his leadership beliefs. By the time the meeting concluded, energy buzzed differently in the room. They had voiced frustrations and aspirations, peering into the shadows with a tentative light glimmering in the distance. Yet Marcus felt a weight settle on his shoulders anew. This was merely the beginning of a much larger negotiation. As he stepped out of the conference room, a flicker of awareness ignited. Today's insights could propel him forward, but he had to remain vigilant. He was not merely confronting Ryan. He was engaging with the deepest currents of his professional identity. Tomorrow would demand even more. The complexity of this new leadership path loomed ahead, ripe with unforeseen challenges. What other revelations lay ahead, hidden within the folds of this journey? Marcus stood at the precipice of his new identity, the culmination of his journey tangible in both his heart and mind. He had spent weeks enmeshed in uncharted waters, pushing boundaries, confronting obstacles, and crafting a transformative vision. No longer a cleaner on the fringes of corporate hierarchy, he was becoming a respected leader, determined to redefine his professional landscape. Yet, the lingering shadow of skepticism from colleagues left him feeling constantly challenged. As the days moved forward, Marcus implemented his Project Empower initiative with a fervent dedication. He scheduled workshops aimed at addressing employee concerns while reinforcing accountability. The atmosphere began to shift subtly. The infused energy of teamwork and collaboration sparked discussions that had been dormant for too long. He watched as resistant colleagues began to share, their walls softening against a backdrop of support and trust. Yet, Ryan remained a formidable presence, his skepticism like a weight in the room.
Marcus could feel his gaze during meetings, often questioning the sincerity of others' contributions. Rather than shying away from this duality, Marcus leaned into it. He would invite Ryan's perspective, acknowledging that even the most critical voices could yield constructive insights. One afternoon, while facilitating a discussion, Ryan challenged Marcus directly. "Tell me, what's actually changed? We've been talking about transformation for weeks, but we're still facing deadlines." Marcus paused, allowing the piercing question to settle. "You're right," he acknowledged, the tension in the air palpable. "But change isn't just a checklist. It's about fostering an environment where we can address issues together. I challenge us as a team to find synergies between results and relationships. Let's integrate accountability with transparency. Prove our actions align with our discussions." The conversation shifted. The team began to introspect on personal commitments and shared responsibilities. Slowly but surely, they began to validate the worth of open communication, even under the shadow of looming projects. Ryan's expressions softened, slowly changing from critique to contemplation. It was a small victory for Marcus, but a victory nonetheless. As weeks turned into months, Marcus found himself not only managing projects, but cultivating a culture. The ripples of empowerment expanded beyond expectations, pushing the team to confront their fears of vulnerability. The professional facade was beginning to crack, giving way to authenticity. Attendees at team meetings began embracing moments of personal reflection, sharing not just obstacles, but breakthroughs. Nothing was now uncharted territory. Every vulnerability breached became a patch for collective growth. Then, an unexpected opportunity emerged. During a quarterly meeting, the management team was impressed with the outcome of Project Empower. The financial metrics reflected genuine improvement, with morale tangibly soaring. Mr. Hughes, begrudgingly impressed, approached Marcus. "I didn't see this coming, to be honest. You've managed to create an environment where teams feel not only accountable, but connected." The nod from Hughes was more than a formality. It affirmed Marcus's hard work, validating that the risks he had taken had been worth it. It transformed the relationship between Marcus and Ryan, with Ryan acknowledging, "Maybe I had it wrong." Those words felt like a softening of resistance, a mutual respect that was once laced with skepticism. As the concluding chapter of this leg of his journey approached, Marcus was offered a formal leadership role overseeing corporate strategies. It was a moment that encapsulated all he had achieved, reflecting tangible evidence of growth and transformation. Standing before his colleagues, he felt a surge of recognition and fulfillment. He had proven his competence, built on trust, unwavering determination, and a commitment to individual and team empowerment. The past hung like a rearview mirror behind him. Far behind lay the cleaner who had once felt invisible among the boardroom's polish. Now he occupied that space with authority, confidence, and recognized competence. He was no longer defined by assumptions, but rather defined through collective achievements and shared visions. With his family's pride warming him and colleagues' newfound respect echoing in the air, Marcus understood that he had not only transformed an organization, he had cultivated a thriving personal identity. Strengthened by the journey, he reflected on lessons learned, vulnerability, collaboration, and the relentless pursuit of growth, weaving this tapestry of realization into the fabric of his next steps. This triumph was a demarcation, a point of pride, affirming that the moments of discomfort ultimately propelled him toward authentic leadership. The whisper in his heart grew louder, now declaring, "This values-driven approach isn't just about the office, it's about who I am." Marcus had arrived. He had conquered the apprehensions that once paralyzed him, stepping into a role that harmonized his past with the promising future ahead. Now, let's make sure you don't miss any of these powerful stories. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and ensure we keep sharing these transformative tales. Comment below with your reactions and theories about Marcus's journey. How did you connect with his story? And don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion and be inspired by this exceptional transformation.